In this video, we're going to wrap up cases within the Hive5 and we're going to show you how to formally close an open case with an appropriate closure status. We're going to jump back into our suspicious PowerShell file case from earlier, and then we're going to head to the top right corner and we're going to click the cross that says close. We're going to get this pop up, and first of all, we're going to get a warning that's telling us we have tasks that haven't been completed. So obviously in the real world, we would ideally want to complete all tasks before trying to conclude a case. As this is just a demonstration, we're not going to take any action on these tasks, and we're just going to go ahead and click on status. We can see here that we've got a number of different closure reasons. So let's take a look at duplicated first. Now, as an example of when we would close a case with duplicated, let's say we have an alert that's come into our SIEM and two analysts have picked it up at the same time, but they're not aware that they're both working on it. So analyst 1 picks up the alert, they start investigating and they create a case and they start populating that case. Analyst 2 is also investigating, but they don't realize that there's already been a case created and they go ahead and create a second case for the same activity. What we would want to do is we don't want two separate cases with two lots of information, so we'd want to close the second case with this duplicated status. For false positive, we would use this when we've investigated an alert or activity and determined that it is not a security event, right? So something's alerted on non-malicious activity that isn't of a concern to us, and that is when we would use this closure status. I can never say this, indeterminate, which means that we do not have an answer, right? We haven't worked out if it's a false positive, a true positive, or something else. So we can close this when we're not really sure what the closure type is. If there's any other use cases that don't fall into one of these statuses, we can use it for that. But the primarily ones we're going to be using are going to be duplicate, false positive, and true positive. So finally, true positive, this is what we would close a case with if it's confirmed malicious activity that we have investigated and resolved. So we're going to close this case with true positive. We're going to say impact yes or no. So let's say maybe in this fictional case, right, the suspicious PowerShell was malicious. It was some form of persistence. We're going to say impact is yes. And then we're going to select a summary, right? So typically in a real world investigation, we want to write a decent summary that provides an overview of the case. So we're not going to write anything meaningful in here, but just as an example for this scenario, we could put an IT administrator informed us of a suspicious PowerShell file on a folder on a server. The security team retrieved a copy of the file. We did PowerShell analysis on it. We worked out that it was creating scheduled tasks for persistence. And it was routinely beaconing out to an IP address, and that we have blocked that IP address on the perimeter firewalls, and we've deleted the file from the server, and we've conducted some other incident response checks just to make sure that nothing else is off on that server. So that's the kind of thing we would write, right? The summary is going to be an overview of the entire case, so that if somebody needs to come and check up on what this case is, they can read the summary and they get all the information they need. They don't need to go digging through the notes and the task activity and things like that. So we're just going to put in here conclusion, and we're going to select close tasks and case. And there we have it. We've formally closed this case. So if we go back to cases, we're going to see here that malicious PowerShell has been closed on today's date at this time. And it also means if we go to click filters and we want to look at open cases, we're no longer going to see that case in open cases.